Pray for me, dear viewer, for I am a Nintendo fan, which means I want to see the Red Hat Man go wahoo and the Green Sword guy go hiya. Unfortunately for me, being a Nintendo fan means dealing with a lot of crap. Because apparently in the year of our Lord 2022, it's just not right to follow any kind of reasonable business model, and instead, it's important to milk your fans for as much money as possible. And boy, howdy, does it work. I would be here for literally years if I were to list off every single stupid thing that Nintendo does, so I'm just going to use a few recent examples and talk about some of the strange things about this company. I don't know what my goal is with this video besides getting some things off of my chest, so I apologize if it's a bit rambly, but this is effectively me saying, hey, Nintendo, I love you. I love the IPs that you make, but you need to fix your shit. I have no delusions that they're going to actually make any improvements, but that's just what Nintendo does. Splatoon 3 is a very good game. If you have not played Splatoon at all, it's really honestly great. It is a fun game to play to fill some time. It's got quick rounds, it feels good, it has interesting mechanics, it has really great gear customization, especially now. But Splatoon 3 is really just Splatoon 2.1. Now, where have we seen this before? Other games have come out very recently that are effectively the barely sequel to their original game, and that's not super wonderful. However, I am going to give a slight bye to some of these other games. I'll use Destiny 2 as an example. Another example could be Overwatch 2, which I'm not about to defend Blizzard, or any other game that has come out in the past 10 years, pretty much. Now, one thing that a lot of these games have in common is longer-term support. Increasingly, companies are moving towards games as a platform, which has its own whole set of cans of worms, but largely, it means that if you're going to get a game, you're at least going to get several years of enjoyment out of it. And it's going to have content updates, it might have seasons that bring completely new interesting things into the game, and it's going to be a little while until they move on to a whole new entry in the IP. Destiny 1 to Destiny 2 was a pretty quick turnaround, but it was technically required. Like, from a technological perspective, they pretty much had to do it. And since they've done it, they have kept Destiny 2 updated for years, and there's already a years-long roadmap still to go. They have committed to Destiny 2. They have committed to this service, basically. Then there's, of course, the other obvious ones, right? Fortnite, Minecraft, all those things. Games as a service. It's not the best business model, but it does mean that you get a lot of bang for your buck unless they're nickel and diming you. And then there's Nintendo. And let's stick with the Splatoon example, because Splatoon 3 is virtually identical to Splatoon 2, but it has a few more maps. Oh, and there's a third main character now. Yay. Now, okay, they made some serious improvements to the game. They really did. I will admit that. But none of the improvements are seemingly bigger than a simple expansion pack. And instead, they're having you buy another full $60 game and bifurcating the player base between Splatoon 2 and Splatoon 3. They still have online support for Splatoon 2 and I believe even Splatoon 1. But now there's these 3 different games that have no crossplay and are almost exactly the same, instead of just maintaining the existing stuff. It is no secret that Nintendo has been way behind the times with pretty much all things internet. Anything that has to do with maintaining online stuff or having a friends list, it's just honest garbage on Nintendo platforms. And that's really unfortunate because there's so many people in this world now who grew up with Nintendo games and want nothing more than to just easily play those games with their friends. I look at Animal Crossing as another excellent example of a game that could have been managed like one of these games as a service. Nintendo dropped what was effectively the best Nintendo-style metaverse-ish multiplayer online community that they possibly could have. Everyone with a Switch was playing Animal Crossing for a while, and you could jump into each other's islands and do whatever you want, hang out with your friends, especially during COVID. It was really important and great. It was wonderful. And then they just didn't do anything with it. They've given it a few updates that have added some stuff, but there's not a lot of content there, and there's not much reason to go back unless you specifically just want to twiddle with some furniture. What I'm driving to is that they just miss the mark, constantly. It's always a great core gameplay experience, except for all these quality of life issues and the fact that they're going to drop support for it in 4 months. And some games they just completely ignore, and then they come back to randomly, like with Mario Party. But let's move away from maintaining games and instead talk about just the ability to play their massive catalog of desirable titles. They used to, back on the Wii and Wii U, have a really nice virtual console setup, and you could play a whole bunch of games that you would still pay for, and it was a little expensive, but it was reasonable for Nintendo standards. And you could play those games above board on a Nintendo console in the experience that they wanted to deliver. And it was fine. It worked well. And then the Switch comes along, and it's this perfect portable device that could honestly just emulate any of this stuff and be great. But instead, you get a few games from a library if you pay a subscription, and that's it. And then they released the dedicated hardware for playing older games, the retro consoles, which, like, cool, but I want to play that on my Switch. And at first, people were kind of saying, oh, okay, so Nintendo doesn't want to release virtual console stuff on the Switch because they want to sell their hardware. But it's been years since that hardware came out. It's not popular anymore, but the Switch is still one of the best-selling consoles of all time. Put your game library on it, Nintendo. It seems like a slam dunk. We just had COVID. They couldn't do a lot of actual development on some of their titles. Just port the games to the Switch. You already have emulators. We know you can run it. You just aren't doing it. The point that I'm trying to make here is I am a Nintendo fan. I love their games. Some of my earliest childhood memories are Nintendo games. And I blame Zelda for the way that I think, critical thinking, and the way that I approach problem solving. It's what got me into the field that I'm in, and it's a formative experience for me. But now I played the games and I'm like, that was good. I really wish that Nintendo would get with the times though and just deliver any kind of more comfortable experience. Here's a really simple example. The new Animal Crossing, which I already said was great. It was missing a lot of features that made the previous Animal Crossings great, but it brought in new stuff that made it pretty fun still. They never added bulk crafting. It's 2022. I can't craft more than one item at a time. I can sometimes craft 5 at a time, sort of, but I can't just say, hey, I want to make 30 fish bait. Nope, one at a time. Go for it. I actually haven't played in a while and haven't double checked, but I'm pretty sure that's still the case. And then Animal Crossing again, you want to go visit your friend's island? Oh, you got to go through like a 5-minute intricate process with a whole bunch of dialogue boxes and wait for a save to finish and then wait for a load and then watch a cutscene while you fly to their island. Any other game, you just click on your friend and hit join and you're in the game. Why have friction? If people are supposed to be having fun playing this game, if you want people to be invested, just make it straightforward and simple. I guess the technology is just not there yet. And then there's all the other issues that you could pile on. Their games never come down in price. They're never on sale. They squash community endeavors to try to have tournaments of games that people want to play, like Melee. Or they go after people who are just trying to post content online of their games, these creators who are just trying to celebrate these games and give them free advertising, and Nintendo goes after them. Like, they're a mess of a company. I don't know what they're doing, but we still buy their games because they're still pretty fun. Again, I'm a fan of Nintendo games, but it's important to not just put companies up on a pedestal as if they can do no wrong. We need to criticize them, and we need to be aware of how we're being treated as consumers. I'm going to buy and play the absolute hell out of Tears of the Kingdom, and I cannot wait for Mario Odyssey 2. I really, really, really do love Nintendo games, but hey, Nintendo, please fix your shit. That's all I've got to say. Be well.